Okay, back with video 3 of 5 in this so-called marathon. They've decided to spice things up a bit by doing the exact same opening they've used for every other level, but sticking an enemy in there. Which, adds about 5 to 10 seconds before we get down to the serious business of actually platforming. At which point it, devolves entirely into the same old shit. Don't get me wrong, I still do like this game, it's just its flaws are becoming more and more apparent the more I have to play through it. And yes, we got a tank to drive around in. Problem being that it is slow as molasses. Doesn't actually do any more damage than a regular attack, and in fact ends up doing significantly less when you think about it. Compared to the flamethrower or whatever, which didn't have the hit invincibility on it, which this does. And shooting propels you backwards as well. So for a tank, it's actually managed to achieve the rather unusual milestone of being less goddamn useful than walking. And of course, since it's so slow, you can't do the usual trick of just dodging around the fights. Big target as well. If Hitler had to rely on these sort of tanks, the Polish would actually have won. Which I think shows you just how little regard I hold these things in. Oh yeah. If there was any actual upside to the bloody tanks, I might like them. Actually, so the closest thing they have to an upside is a seriously odd hitbox. I'm used to bullet hell shooters, and that's still one odd hitbox as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, about as manoeuvrable as an old-style horse and cart would probably run circles around this thing. And of course, the inevitable background elements intruding into the foreground, so you can't see shit anyway. Which look oddly like, octopus suckers, except heart-shaped in a few places. I'd think, if I didn't already know that this game was somewhat subversive with its design elements, I'd think they were trying to get crap past the radar. But at this point it's more refuge and audacity than anything else. Like I said, seriously odd hitbox. And yes, now we've actually got to try and drive a tank around through some platforming sections. Despite the fact that I'm pretty certain Bubsy 3D was kind of comparative to this in terms of how much of a pain in the ass it is. Okay, I'm exaggerating there by quite a bit, but you can understand my feelings, I hope. And yes, there is recoil on that gun, like I've said before, so you do have to worry about it throwing you off the platform into the water, which will kill you. Understandable, of course, tanks don't float. Okay, aside from a couple of those really odd experimental amphibious designs some smartass came up with, tanks in general do not float. On account of having several tons of armour and all that, they're not inclined to be all that light. And yet, as you just saw, it is possible to poke the nose of the gun past the block and open fire without actually managing to hit anything. And yes, it will roll down hills if you're not careful. Frequently quite annoying. But I think that kind of may be the by sentence for this particular set of levels. Everything in it is goddamn annoying on some level. And that's not actually that long a level, really. Yeah, it's over. We got 2 videos to go. One is the last regular level, one is the last boss fight. And I'll get around to them whenever I get around to them. By which I mean, sometime in the next few hours. I hope. God willing. Or gods, or whatever the hell you believe in. And yes, he is getting blue guns on his red boots. It's a horrible thing.